Charlie, we are back in the new year, and of course that means we have to catch up on all things royal, and they're not letting us down already.
No, I mean, they've really started the year with a bang. And guess who from the royal family has kicked off that bang? Drum roll, not that we need it.
Who could it be?
Prince Harry. Da, da, da. I mean, we all know that Prince Harry does not do things by halves, at least when it comes to news, gossip, speculation, rumor, intrigue. He really has nailed all of those categories, and 2026 is looking like it's going to be no different. However, it is once again following the same theme that we have followed year in, year out at this point. Harry's rift with his family, coupled with his ongoing battle to try and have his taxpayer-funded security restored in the UK. And it looks like things might be looking up for Harry, at least where one of those is regarded. Yeah.
Yeah. So those are our two big topics today. Of course, ongoing discussion, but the main things, because there's a little bit of updates, if you will, in that regard. First, let's start with the big news for Prince Harry, as I'm sure he's probably thinking that it is, that there's a little glimmer of hope that he could get his security back in the UK after we all were kind of under the impression that he was never going to see it again.
Right. So Harry did lose a lawsuit that he had launched in order to try and convince the British government that it should pay for him and his family to have armed security guards whenever they travel to the UK. Harry was effectively told last year, nope, sorry, you are, for all intents and purposes, a member of society, a famous one, yes, but you chose to walk away from the royal family. You therefore chose to walk away from the privilege of having taxpayer-funded security. However, Harry is understood to have made a very personal plea to the organization that effectively determines who does and who doesn't get armed security. The latest risk assessment is said to have determined that Harry does fit the criteria for someone who should get armed security when they travel to the UK. Now, no one has signed on the dotted line yet. However, sources inside the British government have told multiple publications that the confirmation of it is effectively just a formality, and that Harry is very quietly celebrating the fact that he will have his taxpayer-funded security restored. What this means, crazy, absolutely loco. And I can guarantee that if and when this does get made official, there are going to be a fair few people in the UK who are more than a little ticked off that their taxes are going to go to such a cause.
I do think that's a really important point to bring up and kind of readdress, that some people are thinking, oh, the royal family has their own security. They're being mean to him. They're not providing him the security. But it really is a taxpayer funded security. So it's not as if it's just the family saying, hey, we don't want you to have security and feel secure when you're there. It's coming from the taxpayers. And I'm sure a lot of them are thinking, why are we paying for you to have security when you left the royal family or stepped down as a senior working member of the royal family and moved to America to live in your posh multi-million-dollar mansion in Montecito? And then when you come back, we have to repay for your security. It's kind of like how our government pays, and through that, we as the taxpayers pay for the security for our presidents and our former presidents. It's not like private families in America are funding their own taxes, or I'm sorry, their own security.
Well, and I think what a lot of people have said is, you know, do Harry and Meghan have government-funded security in the US? No. So why is it so essential that they are given it when they go to the UK? I think many people would argue that actually there is more often than not a greater threat when you are out and about in the US for various reasons that I will not get into right now. But, you know, I think a lot of questions are being asked about why the case was being looked into yet again when Harry was already told no, and what it is that made, you know, the powers that be change their mind. Why now? And, you know, does it have to do with this kind of personal plea that Harry made asking for his security to be restored? wouldn't ever want to put anyone at risk whatsoever.
No, of course, yeah.
But I very much doubt that, you know, the average human being, if they were receiving death threats, God forbid, or anything like that, I don't think if they got on the blower to the UK government that the government would be like, oh yeah, sure, we'll give you an armed security battalion to make sure that you're okay.
I know.
And it comes back yet again to a phrase that I have used umpteen times. They want to have their cake and eat it too. And I just don't think that that mentality or that kind of concept is making Harry or Meghan any more popular.
Right. And it is so difficult because obviously when they go to the UK, they are prominent figures there. They're prominent figures here. So I think everybody understands their need to have some type of security for certain things, certain events, whatever they may need it for.
But pay for it yourself.
But I mean, like, look at Taylor Swift. She is probably the biggest star in the world.
Yeah.
She can't go anywhere without security, but who's funding that? She is, because she has to for her own safety. So it's like, it's hard to not understand the argument of, well, now that you've chosen to want to step away, you are now going to have to front the bill for your own security, but also on the same side, it's like they do need security. Obviously, no one's arguing
100%.
that.
But you can't, you know, you can't leave the royal family because you want more privacy and you want to be able to pursue your own career path, sign $100 million Netflix deal, and then be like, oh no, but we couldn't possibly pay for our own bodyguards. That's out of the question. Again, it's kind of that situation of like, we want all of the benefits with none of the work.
Right.
And that, you know, I wouldn't have health insurance if I didn't have a job. That's just how it is. Yes, I wouldn't have to wake up early in the morning. Yes, I wouldn't have to go to the office and do my job, but I would lose all of the benefits that I get from that job by walking away from it.
Wow, fair enough.
It is the same thing. Yes, Harry was a member of the royal family as a family, but he was also a member of the firm. It is a job. William and Kate do not go to all of these different events, ribbon cutting ceremonies, this, that, and the other, because they really want a robust social calendar. They do it because that is their role.
Right.
Yes, it is a role that William was born into, but it is a job nonetheless. And when you quit a job, that job doesn't continue to pay you. That job does not continue to provide you with health insurance. You lose the benefits while you may gain some advantages elsewhere. And that is just something that every grown adult has to accept. And it is a fact of life that Harry and Meghan seem incapable of accepting.
Wow, that is such a good point. And I like the analogy about if you quit your job, you would lose your benefits too. I mean, that really just makes sense. I saw rumors that Harry was peeved that his family wasn't stepping in more to agree that he does need this security. I don't know if maybe that influenced why this is coming back up.
I mean, it's one of those things where I think the royal family is stuck between a rock and a hard place, because with that intermingling of family and duty comes some very awkward situations. We saw it with the Queen and no longer Prince Andrew, for example, where one's duty to the country sometimes has to supersede one's personal feelings or relationships. And I think that reading between the lines, it was one of those situations where King Charles, Prince William, they were probably kind of like, well, we agree, but we're just not really going to do anything so that we don't have to fall on either side of the argument.
Right.
Interestingly, however, you know, on the emotional side of things, Harry having his security restored is going to be a very big milestone, because that was understood to have been one of the major reasons why he refused to take Meghan and their children, Archie and Lilibet, to the UK. Archie and Lilibet have not met the wider members of the royal family. Lilibet was born in the US.
Yeah.
She has hardly spent any time in the UK whatsoever. I think she's visited once for the Queen's Jubilee in 2022, when she is understood to have met her grandfather, King Charles. But she was, you know, a tiny infant at the time. And I very much doubt that she remembers that meeting.
Could you imagine? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, exactly. She's a genius.
She's a child genius.
And I think a lot of people were hinging Harry's reluctance to travel to the UK with his family on this security issue.
Yeah.
So if that security issue is out of the way, what's to stop Harry from going and spending an entire summer in the UK with his family, working to mend the bridges that have basically crumbled to nothing?
Speaking of mending the bridges, too, there are new reports that the king is supposed to be coming to America as well as Prince William on separate trips, I believe, right?
Separate trips. So reports have surfaced that King Charles will make a state visit to the US to celebrate the 250th anniversary of America.
Oh,
congratulations. Happy
forgot
birthday.
about that. Big year for us.
Huge year. Now, Charles is expected to make that trip in April, while William is understood to be traveling to the US later in the year so that he can team up his trip with the World Cup.
Ooh.
Prince William is a huge football/soccer fan, so it makes sense that he would want to be here to support the Lions, best football soccer team in the world.
Ooh. We are celebrating America this year, Charlie. Come on.
It would make sense that William wants to come over to support the English football team.
Fair enough.
But Charles is understood to have been very eager to come over, meet with President Trump. It is going to be the first time that a British monarch has traveled to the US on an official visit in many, many years.
Ooh.
Don't ask me how long. I'm terrible with dates, but it's been a while.
A long time, trust us.
And there are also a lot of reports suggesting that both William and Charles want to speak to President Trump about a key trade deal that was paused by the current president soon after he took office again. So a lot going on.
A lot of official government responsibilities, politics stuff happening in those trips, I'm sure. But it sounds like Harry is thinking, hey, maybe I can carve in a little family time too.
So some insiders close to Harry, unnamed insiders, I should say, have speculated that he has extended an invitation to his father to travel to Montecito so that they can spend time in private at Harry and Meghan's Montecito mansion. As a family, Charles can get an opportunity to spend time with Archie and Lilibet, etc., etc. Now, speculation about whether this is going to happen varies wildly. I think if you are looking at it on the surface, you might be thinking, sure, Charles is going to be in the US anyway.
Right.
Why not?
Make a quick stop.
In reality, I don't think it is going to happen.
Yeah,
These
I agree with that.
state visits are choreographed to the nth degree.
True.
It's not like a school field trip. It's not like a family vacation. Charles isn't kind of bopping over to the US and road tripping across America from DC to California. He doesn't
it's not close.
No, he doesn't get like a load of free time. It's not like, oh, take a few hours to go and enjoy what you'd like.
Right.
That's not the case whatsoever.
Extend your trip and make a vacation out of it, which is what I like to do.
Exactly.
But I don't think King Charles has that in his daily diary. He's got a really packed schedule. And he's going from DC to Montecito. That's still a long haul flight. He could actually probably get to the UK in almost the same amount of time as it would take him to fly to California.
I think it is almost exactly the same amount of time. It's not as easy as kind of saying, oh, I'm going to skip from DC to Bethesda or whatever. You know, Harry does not live near the East Coast. He is about as far away from his family as America allows him to be.
Right.
So I think the logistics of it make no sense. I think it would make a lot more sense if Harry plus Meghan, Archie and Lilibet were to travel to DC or travel to the East Coast to see Charles while he is here. Whether or not that happens remains to be seen. I think the most sensible thing for everyone to do is come the summer when all of the kids are on summer holidays, they don't have school, they don't have obligations in their, respective home areas. Why doesn't Harry take his family to the UK?
Yeah.
Ask to stay in one of the many royal residences. A couple have been freed up, thanks to Andrew. So he could go and stay in Adelaide Cottage, for example, where William and Kate were living until very recently.
Yeah.
He could go and stay there for a few weeks, get his security, and spend time with his family.
Right.
I think that makes a lot more sense than asking a, man in his 70s to extend a state trip by jumping across the country
The
to
whole
Montecito.
entire country.
Yeah.
To come see my $14 million mansion that I'm living in with my family.
14.65. But I think we also have to remember Charles has only recently taken a step forward as far as his health is concerned.
Right.
Up until the end of 2025, he was still undergoing regular treatment for cancer. He revealed in a pre-Christmas video that his cancer treatment has moved to a precautionary phase, which is an amazing step. It effectively means that they are not actively trying to combat the disease, but instead they are attempting to ensure there's no spread, no progression, etc.
Right.
And that is why Charles is even able to think about planning a trip to the US.
Right.
This time last year, such a thing would be unheard of, but he's taken steps forward with his health, which is amazing news. And I just think that asking for him to kind of make his first major state visit and then on top of that add like a family holiday in California,
Right.
I think that might just be a bit too much. Call me crazy. But
You did make a good point, though, about William coming to the States and him potentially being able to tack on seeing some of the World Cup in some of the cities that is going to be, hosting these big events. Do you think that because we haven't seen any quote unquote reunion of William and Harry yet, do you think that Harry and Meghan and the kids could pop down to one of the games and also support the Lions and meet up with William that way? Or what do you, how do you feel about that?
I mean, it's such a difficult thing to even try and predict. But again, I think it comes back to that idea of placing duty before your own personal feelings, which William has proven that he is capable of doing.
Right.
I don't think by any stretch of the imagination that William is going to phone Harry and be like, yo, bruv, want to go see a football game? I don't think that is happening anytime soon.
It feels like an episode of Ted Lasso that I'm actually here for. Like, let's bring the royal rift into Ted Lasso, and then the sport can bring them back together.
But that being said, if, an invitation was extended to both Harry and William, I don't think there is any reason why they shouldn't both attend.
So what you're saying is we as the people,
we the
people, in order to form a more perfect union for the brothers, could reunite them in a Hallmark movie that Prince Harry has been dying to star in format, where they don't know that they're going to be in the same place, and then boom, they run into each other, and then we have this big moment.
It's like the Parent Trap, but
Yes!
the royal edition.
The brother trap.
Exactly.
We're trapping those brothers.
The Prince's Trap, Look, I think at this point, Harry and William's relationship has reached a stage where it will never return to what it was.
Yeah.
That's not to say that it can't move forward in a new way, but I think so much hurt has been caused, so many things have been said. It would be impossible to erase, forget, forgive everything that has gone on over the last 5 and a bit years.
Right.
But I do think that William will, if he feels it is best for the monarchy as a whole, I do think that he will put his personal feelings aside in order to mend at least the kind of professional relationship with Harry. And what better place to do that than at a football game where England wins?
Whoa.
So
Could you imagine it's England versus the U.S. and both
goodness.
the brothers have to be there?
one on each side.
Yeah.
Harry's just wearing an American flag, like, woo. So
gosh.
it's an impossible situation to predict. Until we get a better idea of what their schedules look like, it may well be that William decides that he's going to focus his attention on the games that are going on the East Coast just to avoid
even having to go near the West Coast. He's like, okay, can you all please play in the games that are closer to home for me so I can avoid the West Coast at all costs?
And this is what the teams of royal advisors that the entire royal family has, that is really what they are there to do. They are there to advise on the best course of action. They can't tell William what to do at the end of the day, but they can share their thoughts on what is best and what actions might reflect best as far as the public is concerned.
Yeah. I mean, because they are obviously a family, so family comes first, and I'm sure that's a mend that they would have to work on personally. But on top of that, the added layer is all eyes would be on them if they did have some sort of reunion or reconnection or anything. So,
and you know what the royal family has kind of done in the past is they have used their desire not to detract from whatever event or person or whatever it is at the center of the event. They've used a desire not to detract from that as a reason to avoid any awkwardness. So, you know, when Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie did not attend Princess Kate's carol concert, for example, a lot of people saw that for what it was, an attempt not to drag Andrew Mountbatten Windsor into the whole narrative.
Right.
Exactly. And I think that, you know, if William was to attend a football game, soccer game in Los Angeles and Harry was not there, I think it would kind of be suggested that the reason for that was because they didn't want to distract from the mighty effort of the England football team as they pursue World Cup glory.
Ugh, okay. Well,
I mean, I could work for the
know
royal
what?
family at this point.
You really
know?
could. That was great. And you know what? We're going to have to be paying attention to all things that come from that. And we will be, because we're not going to miss a beat. They tried to throw us a January curveball by dropping all this info. And we were like,
No, we were here.
we got to get here. We got to catch up on all things royal.
TLDR, if you've made it this far, stay tuned. Because we're going to have so much royal info for you this year.
Yes.
You would not believe it.
Starting as soon as April. I mean, I'm sure sooner and
You
more
wish.
stuff will
You're
come
making it sound as though we're not going to be back until April.
next week.
Honestly.
Starting next week, when I'm sure we'll have more information on something Meghan and Harry are going to be up to, because we know they're not just going to be sitting around waiting for 2026 to happen to them.
No, Meghan's in her kitchen brewing more jams as we speak. I can't wait.
As ever.